She is the most accomplished skier in the world, but Lindsey Vonn's quest to take on the men remains on hold. Denied that historic opportunity, she'll try to continue rewriting women's ski history. Last center for the Canadians, a pair of podiums, including one from the team's leader, Marie-Michelle Gagnon, has hopes high for the new campaign. A little over 6,500 permanent residents in the city of Aspen, but thousands more make the annual pilgrimage to ski some of the most famous slopes in the world. And today it's the best women's slalom skiers that take over the hill as we welcome you to our coverage of World Cup skiing here on Sportsnet. Pleased to be joined again by Brian Stemmel and Brad Fay. Big season 4 is going, over 30 races. We're going to be with you right through to March. And a nice way to kick it off, because we talk about Lindsey Vonn, who just found out that, at least for now, she will not be able to race against the men. Do you think it's a missed opportunity for FIS?
I think so. It's been the talk of the town for the last 2 months or so on the World Cup ski circuit and even in the mainstream media. And that's what they're trying to do. Make alpine skiing mainstream, not tier 3 like it seems to be in the States and here in Canada. And they want to bring people to Aspen. And Lindsey Vonn can do that. She has a notoriety. There's a reason she's $65,000 a day. That's her fee to charge for a corporate ski day. She's big time in the States. And they really gaffed on this one. Like, bring up an intergender? I would be appalled if I was a woman. I'm appalled and I'm a man. And, you know, even people have said, okay, well, that means men can race with women. Bad argument where she should start. They should have let her do it, and I'm really upset with the International Ski Federation. Once again, yeah. What a surprise. First race of the season, here we go.
She said that was her biggest disappointment, that the answer, that's what she didn't like. But ironically, she will not race against the women on this day. Why won't she be there?
Well, she was in the hospital last week, and they didn't really know what was going on with her. Severe intestinal pain kept her out for a few days in the hospital and hasn't allowed her to train in the last couple of weeks. And really, she really didn't ski very well at all yesterday. She was tired, dehydrated, and just looked like she just didn't really want to be there. But still feeling the effects and some pain of skiing. But she's the best in the world. They need her around. They're going to need her in Lake Louise next week, where she is dominant. 3 big races there will secure her in the World Cup standings at the top of the list, because, hey, Tina Maze is winning right now. Lindsey Vonn needs to pick up her game next week, where she's the best in Lake Louise.
Like you said, take it internationally. She's one of the most famous athletes in the world. Canadian team just try to make headway in that regard, and Erin Milzinski last year certainly got that off to a good start. The young skier getting a victory to go along with a podium from her teammate Marie-Michelle Gagnon. So things look good for the Canadian team heading into this season.
Yeah, great for Erin Milzinski from the small Georgian Peak Ski Club in Collingwood, Ontario. Young Erin Milzinski, in 41 years, nobody had won a women's race, and she did it last year. And what that does for her this year, she becomes a little bit more professional. She all of a sudden thinks, hey, you know what? I had such a great result, such a great win, coming from 5th in the first run to winning this run. Now I believe I can win. I can do it. And I sense it in her eyes a little bit. I think she's still a little unsure of herself, but hey, she's got a great team with her, and one of the best right alongside her is Marie-Michelle Gagnon, who was 10th in Levy, the 3rd last year here at the end of the season in March in Åre, Sweden. And hey, they room together, they're best friends, they train together, and that's what you need as a team. You need to work together competitively so you're able to have great results like they did along with the other Canadians.
Yeah, and here's the history that was made. Only 5 women have ever registered podium finishes in the slalom, including the great Betsy Clifford and Nancy Green-Rain. But bigger and better things expected from the Canadian team, and these girls are ready for it.
At the end of the year, definitely got where we wanted. We started podiuming, and as a team, we're starting to be really fast, and that's where we wanted to be, and that's where we want to start again this season, and we'll see how it goes.
It gave me a lot of confidence going into this season. Along with that, there's a little bit of more pressure to belong after, but now I feel more like I belong. I know I can do it, and I know the skiing's still there, so this year I'm really excited for it.
This is the 2nd slalom race of the season, and it was a good start for Marie-Michelle Gagnon in the first in Levy.
Yeah, 10th and 14th for both Marie and Erin. And I talked with their coach, Hugh Gansermos, and he expects them to compete in the top 5. He doesn't just expect them to be top 15, top 10, have a good second run, get some points. He expects them to be in top 5, and that's saying a lot about these young women. But they are young, the whole team's young, but if they keep skiing with the consistency that they have, and the belief in themselves that they have, they'll be able to put on some great results in a hill that they love here in Aspen.
Absolutely, one of the great destinations in the world. Aspen, Colorado. 18 kilometers west of the Continental Divide is where you will find it, about a 3.5-hour drive from Denver. Great place to visit, but if you want to stay, you better have some cash. It's the most expensive real estate in all of the United States, the playground for the rich and famous. And again, today, the playground for the best slalom skiers in the world on the women's side. And a beautiful day greeting them.
Bluebird, it's gorgeous. It's ridiculous in Colorado. Snows at night, sunny during the day. I want to move there.
I can tell you, I wish that you were on there competing, in fact. But nice to be here to bring you our first race of the season, and no better way perhaps to start it. Tina Maze of Slovenia, second overall to Lindsey Vonn in the World Cup overall standings a year ago. She is quite simply one of the great skiers in the world, trying to win 3 of the first 4 races to start this season. Off to a great start as Maze.
Yeah, not a bad start at all. And here they start right at the end of Dago Road, down straw pile on Ruthie's Run in Aspen, and it is set up really nicely. Good, hard, grippy snow, not too icy whatsoever. Fairly gentle through the midway part of the course, but steep down straw pile, and it's a little steeper as you come around Norway Island and into the finish area.
Just missed the podium in Levy in the season opener 2 weeks ago, but she did win the giant slalom yesterday, so certainly feeling very comfortable over her skis in Aspen.
You're not as good a slalom skier as a giant slalom skier, but no mistakes in the first run. You want to set yourself up for the second run. That's exactly what she's done.
52.99, the time to watch from Austria, part of the Austrian contingent that's always large in the World Cup circuit. Catherine Zettel, the 26-year-old who finished just behind Maze yesterday, second in the giant slalom, 39th podium of her career.
Always skis with that very upright style. That'll put her in good stead, keeps her in good balance, not too much movement with the upper body, and I was very pleased with that result yesterday. Coming back from injury, she had her knee scoped in May, a little meniscus cleaned up, but it's nothing for a World Cup skier. That's like going to the dentist and having a filling, you know, it's just par for the course.
That podium yesterday will feel very good because it matched her entire total from all of last season. And this is an accomplished skier with 39 podiums to her credit. She bests the time of Maze in the first run, quarter of a second faster. Could see some history on this day. Marley Shield, 33 slalom wins to her credit, and that is one shy of the all-time mark held by the great Brenny Schneider.
Well, if she continues how she started off last season, she's going to surpass her right away. She won the 5 in a row last year and ended up with 6 victories. And I talked to her boyfriend, Benjamin Reich, yesterday in Lake Louise, and I asked him how Marlies was feeling, and he said, she's in good shape. That was it. So I think he expects a lot from his girlfriend today, and hey, she's proving now 300s up on the interval.
She did not finish the first run in the giant slalom, but certainly a specialty slalom skier. 6 wins last season. That included a win in Aspen, where again she could make history. Marley Shield chasing the great Brenny Schneider and has put herself in 3rd position early in this first run. We're going to take a break from Aspen. The Canadians are on the hill when we come back, and we are underway another season of World Cup skiing here on Sportsnet. Second slalom race of the season brings the women to Aspen, Colorado, and 5 members of the Canadian team in this slalom race. And we begin our look at all of them with Marie-Michelle Gagnon, who's long been heralded as the leader of this group. Even though she's just 23 years old herself, she's happy to have some company. She was 10th to start the season in Levy 2 weeks ago, 23rd yesterday in the giant slalom, but slalom is more of her discipline.
Yeah, and there's a reason she's a leader. She's smart, she's professional, she's a hard worker, and she's good, darn good. And she wasn't as great as she needed to be yesterday, and I think she has to put that behind her today and kind of forget about that. On the second run yesterday, she actually actually crossed her ski tips twice. Ended up 23rd, so she admit kind of a miserable run, and this one's a little off the pace as well, 1.6 back at the interval. Skiing a little tentatively.
Take a look at the broader picture, 21st overall in the World Cup standings a year ago. Put that into context, what that means for Marie Michelle Gagnon.
Well, that's skiing every single discipline, and that's still pretty good, and she's only great at slalom and giant slalom. She just needs to stick with those two. Wow, that's a big mistake. That's going to cost her some more time here.
3.23 is the margin for Marie Michelle Gagnon. You can see the disappointment in her body language.
And 10th coming down, starting number 10, and this is the reason why. Making a mistake there, getting caught on her inside ski, getting low in that second gate and soft on the outside, and that's not good.
We talked about it quickly in the opening, but let's take you back to Opterschwang as Erin Milzinski, the 22-year-old from Guelph, Ontario, wins a World Cup slalom race. Unbelievable. Really, this came from nowhere.
Yeah, it certainly did. She hadn't had spectacular results leading up to this. 5th after the first run, came down second run, and there's a reason she was smiling from ear to ear.
Go.
She needs to apply some of the same tactics as she did last year. This year in Levy 2 weeks ago, she was only 29th after the first run. She's hooked a tip and out.
Oh, a disappointment for Erin Milzinski, who talked about how much confidence that win gave her, and you can see the frustration now. It's a completely different set of expectations for the 22-year-old, and she is upset.
Just looking so good coming in, very well balanced, just perfect form, very aggressive, comes into that hairpin and whoops, gets that left ski tip caught around that red gate, and it just happens so quickly in slalom skiing, even faster than it is in downhill considering the speed, and that's a tough way to not finish. Oh man, really upset. Feeling for her there. She loves it here in Aspen, knew it's one of her favorites, and that's an opportunity blown, and you can see the emotion really setting in.
Wow, that is raw stuff. Ellie Turwheel, another of the Canadians in the field, and university skier at Vermont. They won the NCAA championship last year, and she hails from Kamloops, but now makes her home, obviously, at the University of Vermont.
A little bit of a smarty pants, but a heck of a good skier, too. Engineering student there, and she has a full-time spot on the World Cup circuit. She was the overall NORAM champ in slalom last season, so we'll be seeing her in every single women's slalom race we show on Sportsnet and they have on the World Cup circuit this season. Not quite as quick in the feet as some of the top racers, but the youngster will learn her way on this World Cup circuit just by watching some of those veterans. Going back in the video and seeing exactly where she's losing time.
Again, one of 5 Canadians in the field, and with the 56.74 mark out there in front of her, she is not able to qualify for a second run. So the day is over for Ellie Turwheel, and the experience gained put to use as she moves through this season and the university ski season as well. There's Avruche of Sherbrooke, Quebec, 24-year-old slalom specialist, moving into her 3rd full World Cup season. She's at 7 NORAM podiums to her credit.
A little bit off at the interval too. Like Ellie Turwheel trying to get into that top 30. Hang on, back in the back seat, but a nice recovery. He was 19th here a couple of years ago, so she likes it here in Aspen. She's going to really have to motor down here to try and get to that top 30 to qualify for the second run.
Avruche at the line will not be able to do that outside of the top 30, so no second run for her. Will Marie Michelle Gagnon be the only Canadian to get a second run? We'll know after Brittany Phelan of Mont-Tremblant, Quebec gets her first run. This is the last Canadian hope in Aspen.
She hit her career best result in Levy, finished 28th just in the points, and Wow, that's a pretty good interval. 1.4 back. He keeps that up. That will qualify her into the top 30. And it's tough for these ladies. Whoa, a bit of a mistake there. Same spot as Ruche. All of them have to pay $15,000 just to be on the Canadian ski team this year. I think it's ridiculous that corporate Canada hasn't stepped up to support some of these young racers. They're trying to prove their best here. Wow, what a run.
On the edge for the last half of that run, and it pays off as she moves in to the top 15 there. We tell you who gets a second run. Zettel, one of the early ones on the course, held that lead. Maze Schild, the familiar names. Marie-Michelle Gagnon 24th, not the top Canadian. It's Brittany Phelan who would hold that 15th position to get a second run. And the other three, boy, the big disappointment, certainly Erin Milzinski, who is set to make that move into the upper echelon, does not finish her first run. When we come back, they're skiing for the podium now. The second run from Aspen on Sportsnet. Run in this women's slalom, it will include a pair of Canadians. Certainly the top of the leaderboard after the first run is familiar names, the best in the business on the women's slalom circuit, but Brittany Phelan surprising some with her 15th place finish, and as she says, maybe could have been a little bit better.
Well, I knew at the start, I was like, I'm gonna lay it down, I'm gonna give it my all, and if I finish, great. If I don't, well, I'm not leaving anything on the hill. So, yeah, pretty surprised. I'm pretty happy with it. I had a few mistakes at the bottom, so I wasn't sure it was going to be enough to get a second run. But yeah, definitely really happy with it, and gonna have to lay one down this afternoon.
One of 6 Austrians in the 30 who qualified for a second run. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Jessica DePauli, the 21-year-old. Who was 23rd in Levy to open the slalom season. But when you were skiing representing Austria, you know, you've arrived at an elite level wherever you finish. You get that second run, you're there.
And much darker on this second run. That sun's gone behind Aspen Mountain and now down on Ruthie's Run. Really flat, dark, light. The okay down here at the bottom, but very difficult to see on that steep pitch and straw pile. And I remember when I used to race here, race downhill here, when I was starting at the back as a youngster, it was pitch black down there. You couldn't see anything, so you just really had to grit your teeth and hope for the best, and that's what they're trying to do here on this second run. It will get more and more dark as the day progresses. I guess that's a little obvious, but on the hill here as we see them race towards the top 30.
You meant in racing terms, for sure. The time you'll see will be the combined time of the 2 runs, and because she is the first in the group of 30 racing the second run, she has a time to beat it, just over 1:48. 29 skiers to come, and you get how that works. One of them, another from Italy. Manuela Moog, the 29-year-old, the veteran, 10 podiums to her credit, but she has never won. One of her 6 ever second place finishes came on this hill in Aspen back in 2005.
Yeah, she's been around for a long time and really just hasn't made a huge breakthrough, but still finishing on the podium, but with no wins yet. So we'll see if she can get one out of the way this year. That monkey off her back and looking good. Half second up at the interval, getting in the back seat a little bit and even more now, 0.7 up.
You talked about skiing in these kind of conditions with the sun and the changing of the light as a downhill skier. What challenge does it pose for slalom girls?
Just like driving at night and turning your headlights off, you become more tentative because you can't see. So the tendency is to sit back, but really you want to charge your shoulders and arms forward and perform well, and that's what she's done here. Nice run.
Certainly, Manuela Moog has done that. 0.7 of a second better. She sits on top early in this second run. As mentioned, 2 Canadians made their way into the final 30, and that includes Marie-Michelle Gagnon, who was 10th to start the season in very hard to equal or better that here in Aspen.
That looks okay so far, nothing special. think a little bit stronger of a giant slalom skier, but still has the skills to get on the podium in slalom that she showed everyone last year. But skiing passively when you're not 100% confident. Remember, she didn't have a great run yesterday, or great 2 runs. Crossed her tips twice. Didn't have a great run this morning on the first run. And as each run progresses, your confidence can take a beating as a ski racer if you're not at the top where you think you belong.
23rd yesterday in the giant slalom, and in a dead heat right now, a tie for the lead early in this second run. So certainly after some struggles in the middle portion of the course, Marie-Michelle Gagnon made it up on the bottom to sit in a dead heat. And that will be the time that Veronika Zuzalova of Slovakia will chase.
Got married over the summer, had to throw the valet in there this year. This is the kind of aggressive skiing I wish I saw from Marie-Michelle Gagnon. Her coaches would like to have seen that as well. Just more aggressive, more in the front of her skis, charging down there, just making short little arcs at each gate, and then letting your skis go in between the gates. And that's how you accelerate in slalom skiing. Really nice job of it down here. To carry your speed along this bottom part in the flat section just before the finish. Remember, very high here in Aspen, almost 9,000 feet, so your lungs are bleeding by the time you get to the bottom.
5th to open the season in Levy, and look at that margin for Veronika Zuzalova of Slovakia into the lead, and that is going to be a difficult time for a lot of these skiers to run down, even if it's early in the second run. That kind of margin bodes well. Will Tessa Worley take a run at it? She was 6th yesterday in the giant slalom, the 23-year-old from France.
And a little bling on her scarf this year. Nice. It's not that cold in Aspen, but hey, you gotta look stylish while you're there. Keep up with the rich and famous.
More of a giant slalom specialist. She won the GS here in Aspen in 2009 and 2011. I mentioned she was 6th yesterday, and all 8 of her career podiums have come in the discipline of giant slalom, and there will not be a podium in the slalom today as Tessa Worley of France has fallen near the bottom of her second run.
A little uncharacteristic of her falling. Just dipped that left shoulder in, went down pretty quickly, and got his face full of snow. That scarf, a little snowy as well.
A sparkling second run from Veronika Zuzalova of Slovakia has her sitting on top halfway through this second run of the women's slalom, the second women's slalom of the year from Aspen. We'll come back with the final 15 when we return. You're watching World Cup Ski. Lake Louise on this day, the site of the men's Super G, and the legend Axel Lund Svindal, Brian, taking care of business.
Oh, this guy is just phenomenal. He was in beast mode yesterday when he was downhill in Lake Louise. I was there chatting with him, and hey, backed it up again. He won the Super G last year in Lake Louise and did it again by a big margin. Axel Lund Svindal, solid at the beginning of the season, feeling healthy, strong, and picking up where he left off last year.
Couple of doubles then, back-to-back in Lake Louise, and then defending his title. And how about John Kuchera, the Canadian, 14th. He finishes almost 3 years to the day that he fractured his leg on the same hill and in the same race. Sportsnet won. Had to do a double take when you look at the birth date of our next skier after we see Brittany Phelan of Canada, who is young in her own right, 21 years old, Mont-Tremblant, Quebec, and a surprise perhaps with that 15th place finish in the first run, especially, Brian, which looked to be almost out of control the bottom half of the run.
Well, that's how you have to be in slalom sometimes. Lay it on the line, and that's what she did. Made a mistake there on that second run, but starting 44th, finishing 15th, just can't afford to ski in a stiff position like sometimes she has done in the past. She had good tactics on the first run and just has to remain the same here. And Levy, I think she was just trying to finish to get into the points, and now she needs to attack even though she's making some mistakes. Got to keep up with it.
Again, just 21, but 5 years now with the national team, so the time for Brittany Phelan to make the move is now. And here with a margin of just over a second and a half behind. She has put herself into 7th place after 11th place run in the second run for Brittany Phelan.
Yeah, just a bunch of mistakes that kind of added up in a lot of time, but she's young, she's learning. Heck, she's down 2 runs, finishing the points twice, and there's something to be said for that. She is such a great athlete, coaches say very athletic, and knows how to get it done, it looks like, at the beginning of the season.
This is one where I got ahead of myself. The birthday, 1995. Not a misprint. Michaela Schifrin, just 17 years old and a rising star for the United States.
She garners all the attention when Lindsey Vonn isn't around. Forget about Julia Mancuso and the other U.S. skiers. Michaela Schifrin is the one they talk about, just because of the success that she's had. That she couldn't find the rhythm after the first run in that first course, and it's looking much better on the second one. Clear thoughts in her head make her perform well, and this Aspen crowd will bring her home with that green light leading in 3/4 of the way down this course right now.
Charity has 2 World Cup podiums to her credit. Will she thrill the home nation fans with another? She's put herself perhaps in position as she leads now as we move into the latter portion of this second run. Incredible stuff. 9th at the giant slalom yesterday, so certainly Michaela Schifrin more comfortable in the slalom discipline, and not lost on the fact that she's 17 years old and a youthful exuberance.
She's so young, her mom follows around the circuit. That's how much guidance she needs.
We flash back to the last race of last year, the World Cup Finals. Michaela Kirkgasser taking care of business in Schladming in the slalom.
Yeah, she's just, one of the best in the world, and the other win that she did have in Kranjska Gora, her competitor, Marley Shield, fell, so kind of handed that one to her, but Marley Shield was only 3rd in that race. Kirkgasser with the win, and windy up top now.
So one Michaela chasing another, and Schifrin from the United States, it sits in the lead at the bottom, and here comes the veteran Kirkgasser, 27 years old, and 11 World Cup podiums to her credit. This is the 182nd start of her career, part of that great skiing nation of Aspen.
Whoa, I was just going to say, the veterans don't make mistakes like some of the youngsters, and then Kirkgasser blew it a little bit, but still leading by 0.2 of a second. Conditions are getting more and more difficult as we progress towards the end of the women's race here. Of course, it's getting beat up, lights getting darker, and Kirkgasser struggling a little bit down here. Can she hold off?
For 5 years between wins and won twice last year, she will not win today in Aspen, but put herself in 2nd position to 6/100ths of a second behind the kid from the U.S., Schifrin. But Schladming and Kranjska Gora were victories for us, so really a comeback season last year for Kirkgasser, and there's no such thing as a comeback for Schifrin. She's just getting started. Christina Geiger of Germany, the 22-year-old in her 35th World Cup start, looking for her 2nd ever podium.
Michaela Schifrin's so smart. She really learns from her mistakes and is trying to make it fun again. But what she's doing in the finish area is actually not watching the time so much of these women who are more experienced than she is, but their technique as well. And she learns from everybody. Just, so much beyond her years.
Geiger with a fairly sizable advantage as she moves into the bottom portion of the course. She was 11th in Levy to begin the season 2 weeks ago, and has her sights set on Michaela Schifrin of the U.S. as she hits the line and will not quite get there. 15/100ths back, has her in 3rd place as Schifrin begins to count down the skiers that are still to come, and we can tell you there are 7 of them to take a run. And how long did Veronika Vela and Zuzulova hold that lead? Now she is not even on the podium. It was a long way to come after a disappointing first run for her. Brittany Phelan, the Canadian, sits in 14th, 3 points back up Marie-Michelle Gagnon, who is tied for 11th. Continue to work towards the podium when we come back on Sportsman. It'll be Michaela Schifrin in her sights, a 17-year-old American on the verge perhaps of making history. She leads at the bottom. Already 2 World Cup podiums to her credit, but might get her first win, and it could come on home soil. Tanya Putiainen, the 32-year-old from Finland. Favorite ski team for me, the Santa Claus ski team. She was second in Levy to open the slalom season 2 weeks ago. That's her 47th career podium. Just one of the greats on tour, Brian.
Yeah, and Levy is so far north, so early in the season. Seems like Santa's the only. She put on a great performance, was second, and for somebody who's been on the circuit for 15 years, come on, that's incredible that she's been so good for so long. Injuries don't seem to affect her, and she's been on the podium in Aspen 5 times, so she knows how to get it done wherever she is.
She won the slalom in Aspen in 2005, doubled it with the giant slalom that year, so as you said, very comfortable on the slopes of Aspen. Comfortable enough to catch Schifrin? Not quite. It's amazing the margin. We've seen 3 or 4 skiers come within about 15/100ths of a second, and for Putiainen it's 6/100, just not quite enough. Second in Levy to open, and now second here as we close in on the end of the second race of the season.
Got caught on her inside ski a little bit, but still pretty solid skiing, but got to be on the right side of the hundreds if you want to stick on the podium, and Putiainen couldn't quite do it.
Could be some personal history for Lena Dürr of Germany. The 21-year-old has never been on the podium. 6th, 7th, and 8th were her best finishes in slalom last season, so maybe she's closing in on that. This could be the natural progression.
This is a girl who, Michaela Schifrin said, this is one of my biggest competitors. The second youngest in the slalom today, and one who'll be competing with Schifrin for a long time to come, maybe 15 years like Putiainen.
The advantage almost half a second as she moves into the bottom portion of the course.
Whoa, lost her pole grip there, but managed to get it back quickly. That right arm got whacked by the gator. Hand came right off the top of her pole, but she's regained her composure. It didn't look like it affected her at all.
Will she spoil the party? Yes, she will. The American Schifrin, the kid, 17-year-old, knocked from the top of the podium and fairly good margin, 19/100ths of a second. Another German, Maria Hopeful-Riesch, flashes back for us to the opening, and looks pretty dark up there north in Levy. This was the opening race of the season, and another victory for the legend that is Maria Hopeful-Riesch, her 24th of her career.
It's like at 2 p.m. in the afternoon there in Levy. It's dark.
Oh man, so trying to go back-to-back to open the season. 8 slalom wins in her glorious career. 22 times she's been on the podium. She was 3rd in the overall standings last season, but this is the race that she embraces the most, the slalom.
A little surprised that she did so well in the first run. Actually, yesterday was her birthday, and she fell just above the start of the slalom, in the giant slalom, and really whacked her left arm and winded herself. She was down for quite some time, but not affecting her at all. 7/10ths up now. This is looking good for Hopeful-Riesch once again. You know, knee injuries in the past didn't seem to affect her these days, and she's just able to stand on her feet in slalom and win it at times. And can she do it again? Oh yes, by a huge margin.
Unbelievable, almost a full second. And Maria Hopeful-Riesch has been on the podium basically once every 4 times she steps in to the starting gate, and it looks like she's going to continue that trend on this day as she has the lead, and we'll have to wait it out with 4 to go. Maria Pitele-Holmner of Sweden with 4 World Cup podiums to her credit, but she won the slalom in Aspen 2 years ago and was second here last year, so certainly this is a race that she circles on her calendar. She loves the slopes in Colorado.
Yeah, looked really good at the beginning of the season, then had an injury in January, was out for the rest of the season, had to take 6 months off, but hey, 8th in Levy. Can't say enough about somebody who comes back from an injury and backs it up with a good performance, and she's in the hunt with Hopeful-Riesch. Whoa! Looks like something funky went on there. Almost looked like she straddled, but I think she's around that gate properly and looking solid down here at the bottom. No problems now. The times are so close for second and third, but she's gunning for first.
2 of her 4 career podiums have come in Aspen. Will she make it 3 of 5? She's put herself in position. Could not catch Hopeful Reach, but a solid second place standing for Holmner of Sweden after 27 skiers. So you do the math, we know we've got 3 to go, and Schifrin, with that electrifying run, has suddenly been knocked from the podium. The 17-year-old will have to wait to get her first win on home soil. Catherine Zetzel, the leader after the first run, is among the final group of 3 that we will see when we come back on Sportsnet. Slalom wins last season for the great Marley Shield.
You see in the start there, she had 8/10 of an advantage over competitors on the first run. Really just laid down such a great first run, and she won it by even more. She skied so well, so I'm sure she'll have the same frame of mind going into this run this afternoon.
Overshadowed by Lindsey Vonn last season. Just every time we did a slalom race, it was Marley Shield, mark it down. And how about it? 1 shy of Brenny Schneider for most slalom wins all time. So Marley Shield, 3rd after the first run today, puts herself in position to match Schneider on the all-time list.
Nothing better than coming to a hill where you've had success before, and you're just brimming with confidence. Even as you step foot in the hotel room, step into that lobby, and you see that ski hill up there that you've had success on before. Man, that really allows you to be at your best and bring confidence even before you set foot in the hill. And good first run, half a second up, and look at this. Here she goes in the second run again.
The margin is big right now. Could Marley Shield hold it down the bottom portion of the course? Someone actually suggested that she's in a bit of a slump because the last few races last season, the first one this year, she didn't actually win after winning 6 times. So,
I'd like to be in that slump.
man, wouldn't we all? Marley Shield trying to run down Hopeful Reach, and she will. And the margin now 1.26. So Marley Shield perhaps puts herself in position to make history and tie the all-time lead for wins in slalom, but she'll have to get past 2 of the best skiers, or I guess more appropriately, 2 of the best skiers will try to get past her. Tina Maze of Slovenia, who won the giant slalom yesterday, so she's feeling very confident. She finished 4th in Levy at the season opener.
Yeah, and that's all it is confidence. He talked about Shield confidence. He talked about Maze having confidence from yesterday, and who's got the most? They all ski really, really well. Exceptional technique, super solid, very athletic, very strong, powerful. God, who's got the best between the helmet? And Maze is making some mistakes in this second run and letting her lead slip away. The Marley Shield's so good, she didn't even believe it when she came through the finish.
Maze trying to win 3 of the first 4 races on the World Cup circuit. She will not do that, but it could be another podium. In fact, it will be, with 1 skier to come. Second is where she sits, the margin quite large behind the great Marley Shield, but Tina Maze puts herself in position to make it officially 41 podiums. Will it be second? Will it be third? Catherine Zettel will have everything to do with that. The Austrian skier with 39 podiums to her credit. 8 of those wins. Second in the GS yesterday, and now trying to punctuate a great back-to-back weekend in Aspen with the win here in the slalom.
Looking really good so far, no mistakes yet. Let's see what that interval time says. Oh yeah, it's still good, but barely good. Only 900ths up, and we've seen some mistakes down here. She'll have to watch out. Focus on each gate, not that finish line as she makes her way down at the bottom.
And as it should be, the first race of the season for us is going to go right down to the wire. It's Zettel trying to catch Maze in Aspen. The time to beat at the top of your screen, and at the bottom is the winning time now, and it is not even close. Catherine Zettel, the 26-year-old from Austria, celebrates on the slopes of Aspen, make it 9 World Cup wins and 40 podiums. Unbelievable.
Obviously coming over
Wow.
to North America with all sorts of confidence.
No, only won one slalom before in Maribor in 2010 and didn't make any mistakes. And what a great second run to hold off the best in the world, Marlee Shield, Maze. Hey, she's having a pretty good start to the season too. 3 podium finishes in 4 races. Not so bad for the Slovenian either.
We've been off for, what, 8 months, and you take a look at the standings, and it looks very, very similar. The first race that we do, a lot of the names that we are used to, and keep an eye on Michaela Schifrin, who led for a while, the 17-year-old from the United States, but it was Catherine Zettel's race to win as she stood in the starting gate, the last skier of the day, and she took care of business, dominating in the second run in a big margin of victory run.
But we see with so many familiar faces and similar names because they're just so good. They're far better than everybody else in the world. It's reflective of the time, and even the younger racers know that. That's why they watch them on video every night to see their technique and realize why they're so good.
And the early standings, Maria Hopeful reached the leader with 150 points through the 2 races. Catherine Zettel moves into 4th place with those 100 points, and we hear from the winner and the Canadians.
I can't believe it's my second victory in slalom, but the first I bring down into the lead, and I don't know what to say. I mean, Aspen, I love Aspen since I was here. The first time I had my first podium and my first victory here. I love it.
Gotta love the enthusiasm. So we don't hear from the Canadians. We'll hear about the Canadians from Brian Stemmel in a second. But Tina Maze, who else on top of the overall standings? And I guess you say who else, because Lindsey Vonn hasn't had a chance to compete at her highest level yet this season. You know that name will surface. Marie-Michelle Gagnon finishes 7th. So Catherine Zettel on this day running down a great field in Aspen because everybody kept pushing the bar a little higher, a little lower, if you will, with the time, and she busted right through.
Yeah, just a phenomenal result, second run. I love the interview, how she's trying to articulate how good it was. And man, it's tough in Aspen. As I said, the elevation's really high, and to be at your best, one of the toughest races of the season, at least as far as elevation is concerned, was great for Zettel. But that's the way the Austrians do it. They seem to win all the time.
Yeah, we've set a different standard this year, at least it's expectations when it comes to the Canadians. So with that in mind, and that bar where it is, what do you make of this race, the second slalom of the season?
Well, I was really looking for a whole bunch of greatness today. I was really looking forward to this race today, a lot more than men's Super G in Lake Louise, because the competitiveness of the women's slalom team is really high, and that's why their coach, Hugo Ansermos, expects them to be in the top 5, because they've done it before, and he knows that they can do it again. It's just a matter of them believing themselves a little bit more and not making some mistakes like they did today. Sure, Erin Mrozinski, she was going for it, and that's what she has to do. And for Marie-Michelle Gagnon, she said she has to attack all the time. She can't lay back and make some silly mistakes like she did today. She's got to attack, and that's what you have to do to be the best.
18th for Gagnon, 21st for Brittany Phelan. As mentioned, we're just getting started on our World Cup season here on Sportsnet, and we'll see you next weekend for our next race. It's